Good afternoon, everybody. I am Attorney Danyl Patterson, candidate for the 190th state rep seat. That's West Philly, baby. So we're calling out Mill Creek, Cathedral Park, Carroll Park, Haddington. Sorry, I always forget Dunlap. Make sure that we make our way up to Parkside Avenue, East Parkside, West Belmont, West Powelton, East Belmont. I'm sorry, West Belmont, East Park. West Belmont, West Powelton, make our way on up to Winfield Heights. Don't forget about, you know what? Everybody forgets that 4 Points is actually its own distinct culture and neighborhood on across East Falls Bridge on our way into West Allegheny. But the election is June 2nd. It is fast. Quickly approaching. So we are at 21 days and counting. So it's 21 days to D-Day. That's election day. Or is it? So traditionally, we would just go on election day and cast our ballot. Easy peasy. But this time, for the very first time, we've got some different choices, and we've got different choices just in time for kind of the greatest situation we've had in the last 100 years health-wise, and a stay-at-home order. So our stay-at-home order, according to Governor Wolf, does not get lifted, at least in our parts, Philadelphia parts, until the earliest June 30th. We know he opened up 24 counties, and that he identified, and they started opening up last Friday, and he identified another 4 with an undetermined open up date. And then we know that June 4th is the next round, and we don't know when that is, but we do know, or strike that, we don't know who that is, meaning what counties are going to open up on June 4th. But the only thing that we definitely know is Philadelphia and those counties surrounding it immediately. So Bucks, Berks, Montgomery, Delco, there's one more. Chester, sorry. I'm like, there's one more. Chester County, those that immediately touch, interact in our commerce, and are utilizing our services and our extensions of us, basically southeastern Pennsylvania, the SEPTA routes will not be opening, or at least will be opening last. So that's what we know. So here we are. It is now time to vote. The election is 2 days before we're supposed to open up at the earliest. So the election is June 2nd, and we're scheduled to open up June 4th. That's the next round date. How you doing, Emmanuel, Gilda, Zahira, Gorgeous T, and Miss Peggy Armstead? How y'all doing? Thank you for joining me today, because this is a little bit of a confusing topic. So I'm trying to give it to the people simply as possible, but it's going to be confusing. So as questions arise, please make sure that you chime in, write them down the bottom so I can come back to them, because I'm going to go over all these steps many, many times, because I had to hear them, read them, learn them in order to be able to just break them down, to talk to you about them. So I'm sure, how you doing, Khalil? That yes, Mr. Easy Stick Mobile, we can't forget about you, Khalil. Thank you for the work you're doing out in our community. So many have been tested, and so many new job opportunities. Khalil is growing by leaps and bounds. So we are happy to be affiliated with his company, bringing mobile testing right to your door. But back to the topic at hand, which is really how to vote. So what we know, we're supposed to stay in the house unless you are essential, and unless it is an essential activity. So they're telling you don't go outside unless you're going outside to provide, food or employment, emergency, medical, those kind of things. But that's election day, June 2nd. And polling places will be open. But what we do know is we don't know how many polling places are going to be open. That's the biggest problem. Now, how does the new law change? Let's go back so that you can understand some of the history, so you can understand how we arrived at the present. Okay? So this is first. Yes, Danielle, we're going to go through all of that, because that is actually some of the problem with the vote by mail. So I'm going to give you all the history so you can understand. So previously, we had what was called an absentee ballot. And you all know what an absentee ballot is. If you can't be here for some reason, you have a scheduled surgery, you have a scheduled vacation, you are going to be away, you are deployed overseas. For those reasons, if you're a student who lives at home, but you're going to be away at school, you can request an absentee ballot and still actually vote in your domicile. That's the big thing. You have to vote in your domicile. So even if you're away at school and you're at school at Washington State University, your domicile is still with mom and dad here in Philadelphia. So you can request an absentee ballot, mail it in, and vote from Washington State and have your vote counted. That's an absentee ballot. In October, Governor Wolf signed into law the first change in close to 100 years of our actual voting code here in Pennsylvania. And one of the things that we got was no excuse ballots, no excuse absentee ballots, basically. So you can, for any reason, decide that you want to mail in a ballot. So before, it used to be an absentee ballot requires you to have a reason that you couldn't just go to the polls. And that's why I gave you those examples that you were deployed or that you were, away, you had a scheduled surgery, those things. There was actually a list of reasons that you could give, that you could request an absentee ballot, that you were infirm over a certain age and you still wanted to exercise your right to vote. Well, now you can request an absentee ballot for any reason, but it's not really an absentee ballot, okay? So, and the reason for that is because there's quite a bit of hurdles to go through to get that vote. So, what should happen if so for any reason, so as a part of that voter law, other things also happened. There's no straight down the line, straight party ticketing. So in November, when you go to vote, you can't just go in and pull the big D up top and just hit every Democrat. You actually have to vote for each separate office. In addition to that, there was more money injected into our polling places. So we were having our systems updated and computerized. And I'm sure that especially those of you who kind of out in the community that I see all the time, I'm sure you've seen Omar Sabir go around with the polling machines. I've actually voted for myself 3 times at the polling machine because I write myself in, I was practicing. So to play with the machine, to learn how it works. They teach you how to cancel a ballot, those things. And it was really important because I voted in November and there was mass confusion that first time that they were using the new voting machines. So everything was going along quite great. We had this new voter education around the machines, and then COVID-19 struck. Now, immediately, several other jurisdictions moved their election day. Now, our election was supposed to occur April 28th. That was our primary. Now, our primary is not always in April. So it is only in April on presidential years. Other than that, they're in May. It's the 3rd Tuesday of the month in May. It is moved during presidential primaries so that Pennsylvania and its delegates will still have a say-so basically in choosing the presidential candidate. So in other words, the candidates are still in play. So I'm sure you guys saw it go from 22 to 2, basically. That's what happened. We went from everybody, Kamala and Yang and, I don't even, Klobuchar, and I don't even remember at this point, Gabby Tulsa, Elizabeth Warren. It went from all of those folks down to Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. So that's where we were on April 28th of 2020, or strike that. That's where we were back when COVID-19 struck in March of 2020. I have to be very clear about my timeline. So since that time, COVID-19 struck, and now we had nationally an issue because there were still other states besides Pennsylvania that had not voted. Probably most notably amongst them was New York, with lots and lots of delegates at stake. Immediately, Governor Cuomo moved to have the election moved, and their election was immediately moved to June 30th. Maryland's election was immediately moved to June 2nd. So those are 2 who were just there. And also there were other states that moved as well. So some southern states who had not occurred. So now what happens? We get moved to April the 28th. By the time we got moved to April 28th, Sanders had basically conceded the race to Biden. So there's no longer a delegate issue at play, meaning that the delegates in Pennsylvania are going, is that Biden is the candidate. So as a matter of fact, and I'm sure you guys see it on the news, where there's all this confusion as to whether or not Sanders has conceded or has he withdrawn, because there are different states that have been discussing, again, most notably New York actually taking Bernie Sanders off the ballot. That is not true in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, when you get your ballot, there will be three different people on the ballot who are running for president. On the ballot in Pennsylvania, your choices are: on row number one is Bernie Sanders. Row number two is Joe Biden. Row number three is Gabby Tulsa. Gabby. There you go, Gabby. Sorry. That's row number three. Okay. That's very important because you will find Danyl Patterson, candidate for the 190th, on the row with Joe. So when you come straight down under Joe Biden's name, you will come immediately upon me. The very first name in the PA 190 district, as well as the only African-American female in this race who is from West Philadelphia. I am on the row with Joe. So just so you know where to find me, on the same row, right underneath Joe. So now, what happens? It's now time to vote. How can we get our ballots? So now we're in the middle of COVID-19. We know that the governor has determined that we are still in a crisis, at least in the southeastern part of the state, and that we're still essentially under that red box, where we're really only supposed to do very essential things. So what happens there? It's time to vote. Should you or should you not go out? So there is lots of controversy about that. Thank you, Gorgeous T. I'm really working hard to earn your votes. So now I got to get it right. Today is May 11th. I had to actually look because that's how confusing I have been with COVID-19. Today is May 11th. Like I said, we are 21 days to the election. That much I do know. Okay. So now what happens? Should you vote by mail, or should you vote in person? Well, I strongly encourage everyone who is able to vote by mail. I encourage that. However, I will be voting in person, and I'm going to tell you why as to both. I understand that we're going to have reduced number of polling places. That's a fact. We don't know how many yet. And the reason, I think if you guys were around on Friday, I said, hey, we're going to have an election day update. And then I said, no, we'll come back on Monday. The reason for that is because everything changes every single day. And I'm sure it's just like voting during the pandemic is just like everything else during the pandemic. It is changing at a moment's notice. So as of Friday, the commissioner was still giving out information, the commissioner's office, about what was going to happen with the election. So I am going to give you the latest information that I do have. And I'm going to make sure that I update you guys on the regular. And also I'm going to give you some resources so you can check yourself. Okay, because it's not always just what I say, it's also what you can verify. So as we say in the law, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you what I can prove. Thank you, because that's exactly where we're going, Peggy Armstead. I appreciate that. You guys are on the ball. Okay, so I'm going to say Doris Farrell Williams down there. Hey, Doris, good. This is something I wanted to know. So I'm going to use you as an example, Doris, of how to vote by mail. So Doris wants to vote by mail. Doris needs to request a ballot. This is not, please don't think that this is like the census. It is not going to just show up at your door and you vote. It is not. You have to be proactive about this. You must go out and get a ballot, and not go out, meaning you can't go anywhere, clearly. And that's the biggest problem. Normally, you could go to the commissioner's office and go down and fill out the ballot application. You cannot do that. What you need to do now is you need to go online to votespa.com, or you need to call 1-877 Votes PA to get you a ballot. So here, I'm going to give it to you. You can go to 1-877-VOTES-PA to call and get you a ballot. Make sure you push option number 3. That's 1-877-VOTES-PA. Push option number 3 to request a ballot. That's if you don't have a computer. If you do have a computer, then you have another option. If you have a computer, then you can go to votespa.com. Then you just go to votespa.com and you have to follow the directions there. But this is merely to request the ballot, and that's where the confusion comes in. This is all to just request the ballot. So when you request the ballot at 1-877-VOTES-PA, push pound number 3, you will speak to the individual, give your information, and then they're going to mail you a ballot. So that is step number 2. You must be sure to receive the ballot. So then you got to make sure that the U.S. Postal Service, because it's coming USPS, will make sure that you are checking your mail diligently every day and that you have your ballot. And then once you get your ballot, it is time to vote. So you get your ballot and it's time to vote. So you need to sit down at your kitchen table or wherever it is you sit, lay in the bed, play on the computer. Maybe you want to Google some more information about all of us, who are running for the various offices. And you can do all of that from your home. Oh no, Doris, you can't print one out and mail it in. How long does it take for the ballot to come back? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So just to make sure. Okay, so I printed one out and mailed it in. How long does it take for the ballot to come back? Well, that's the next hurdle, Doris. Okay, so Doris actually had something that the rest of us did not. I don't know how many of y'all got a printer, because it is like the hardest thing in the world to find. So many people have computers and do not have printers. So they may be able to go online and register, but they can't actually print it out. Okay, so I want to back up because I need to make sure that you understand the system. Okay, so step 1, you go and register and you go and request the ballot. Step 2, you get the ballot back and fill it out. And that's where you'll find me on the road with Joe, push button number 17 to elect Danyl Patterson as your state representative. That is box number 17 for Danyl Patterson. So then you must sign the ballot, and don't forget that in order to then you mail it back in. Don't forget to sign it. Now, the problem with requesting the ballot, and this is the problem I think that someone earlier said, they were having Danielle Watson. Here you go. And this is the problem, the hindrance. In order to get an absentee ballot, in other words, in order to vote by mail, you must have a valid state ID. If you only have a passport, you are unable to apply for a ballot. So Danielle, your passport ID, they're saying you can take a picture of it and send that along with it. But the problem is we don't know. It says specifically state ID, and it asks you for your state ID numbers. So for your Pennsylvania non-driver's license, it's asking for the number on there, the issue date, the expiration date. For your driver's license, the same thing. And for those of you who ever got it, there's actually a city ID that you can also get down at the commissioner's office. Down at City Hall. It asks for those numbers as well, your city ID number, your ballot, and expiration date. There are a lot of unknowns. We don't know whether or not they'll accept these other things to request the ballot. We don't know, which is why you have to be diligent in tracking that it actually comes back. You see why this can be a problem? Because this is a lot of hoops to jump through right now. So you got to request the ballot, get the ballot, fill the ballot out, and now we got problem number 3. We got to mail the ballot back. And we have to make sure, not just that we mail it, it is our responsibility to make sure that the ballot is received in the county board, the county commissioner's office, by 8 p.m. on election day. So I need to repeat that again. It must be received by the county commissioner's office by 8 p.m. on election day. So that's a four-step process. Yes. Okay. So what we know, if you request the ballot online, because Doris actually asked this question, let's say you request the ballot and you do it online, you are given a confirmation number. That confirmation number can be used to track the ballot, and you at least have proof that you attempted to request the ballot and whether or not you got it back. Okay, that's what happens. Now, this is the problem. The ballots are at this point, we don't know how far behind, but I can tell you personally that I have 4 different people who requested the ballots when it went live and they told them to, and they just only one has received their ballot, and that person received their ballot on Saturday. So that's 4 weeks of time that they did not get their ballots. And we know there's going to be a rush on requesting these ballots. We actually have numbers on how many people have requested ballots, but we do not have numbers on how many people have actually received those ballots. But if you request them online, you do have a confirmation number that you did attempt to request it and that you were owed a ballot. If you mail it in, you don't have those same things. There's no confirmation number. So let's say you mail it in and you did not have valid ID because it was one of those things that was not accepted. Okay, so now we've got a processing problem. Let's say you mailed it back and you forgot to sign it. Then you've got a processing problem. Let's say that, so there are a lot of problems that can happen just with requesting the mail-in ballot. Okay, and then let's say you didn't get it back timely. So can you now just show up on June 2nd and go vote? Well, that's another problem. So you can go to whatever polling places there are because we don't know what they're going to be. And you can go and you can only cast a provisional ballot. Provisional ballot. And the reason for that is because under the current law, if you request a ballot, you are considered to have voted. That is the check and balance to make sure we don't have voter fraud. So I'm going to be clear. If you request the ballot, you are considered to have voted. So then what they do is then there's kind of a flag on it, for no other way to put it. And the reason you're given a provisional ballot is to make sure that you didn't mail one in somewhere else. So they're going to take your vote and kind of put it to the side and count it at the end once they confirm that you didn't vote by mail. So once the commissioner's office goes through the counting of everything that they got back in the mail and make sure that you're not there, then they will count your vote. That is very different from the people who did not request a ballot and who are going to go to the polling places on that day to vote. Now, both of these could, mailing in the vote could be a very great thing when it works. So those people who have had the savvy to be able to register online and get that confirmation number, their ballot came back and they're able to get it back in. This is a fabulous way to protect yourself, to make sure you don't have additional contacts with anybody and expose yourself to COVID-19. But there are also other people who unfortunately don't have access to these resources. They don't have a state-issued ID. They don't have the information readily available. They don't have their ward and division number to be able to vote. All this stuff is on your ballot. They don't know what it is, or they can't track the ballot. So the request. So we don't know whether or not it's actually in the system that they requested. Wayne, can someone call Lisa Dealey's office to answer these questions now while on air? Unfortunately, Wayne, the office has merely provided me with information. So now, Zahira told me I applied online 2 weeks ago and still have not received mine in the mail as of yet. So yes, Zahira. So you applied online, you received a confirmation number with your online process. You can use that confirmation number, Zahira, to go back to votepa.com and use that to track your ballot and see where you are in the line. Okay, and you can do that. Now, the final thing that has to happen is the vote by mail last day is May, to request a ballot is May 26th. The last day that you can go and request a ballot is May 26th. But I am just urging you all, do not wait until May 26th, because there are going to be delays. As you see from Zahira just telling you, she applied 2 weeks ago and does not have her ballot. We don't want anybody denied the right to vote because they did not get their ballot. So those people who don't have online access, I'm reminding you to go to 877 Votes PA. That's 877 Votes PA. Monday through Friday, there is someone to answer from 9 to 5. That's what it said. And I think it's really like 8:45 to 4:45, but you can call every day and make sure that you are in the system to get those ballots. The other thing is that, yes, Zahira. So make sure that you are tracking your ballot. Now, the other problem is the polling places are going to be reduced. We still don't know by how many. Why? Because they have to make sure that you can be socially distant and that they can control the flow, and that the polling places can be cleaned up, that the polling machines can be wiped down and sanitized in between each use. As well as the system, don't forget, you got to check in, be confirmed along the way before you're put into the polling place. Strike that, into the voting machine. So let's say you choose that route and you decide to meet me down at the polling place. Well, the reason I say meet me down at the polling place is because we don't know how many actually polling locations there will be. So what we're expecting is that polling places are going to be condensed, meaning instead of 1 or 2 wards or 1 or 2 divisions voting in one place, there might be 10 or 15 divisions voting in one place. So that means that the lines are going to be longer. Even if you live somewhere where there's notoriously a low voter turnout, it's still going to be a long line. I want people to be ready for that. There could be a long line. So it's really about what's good for you. What is it that you are willing to concede or risk, and how much faith and access do you have? So there's a lot of confusion about that. What happens if I don't get my ballot back in time? Will I still be able to vote? What happens if I get to the polling place, or what happens if I get to the polling place and it has changed? Well, if you get to the polling place, you know, the one that you've been voting at for the last 20 years, because literally every time I have voted for the last, it's not 20 years yet, is it? It's more than 20 years. For the last 20 plus years, it's been at the exact same place at the Salvation Army at the corner of my block. I voted in the same place every single time. I have voted twice a year. It could possibly not be at the Salvation Army this year. And so that means that I need to make a conscientious effort to find out where my polling location is. I will tell you that it is my team's plan to make sure that we put up new polling area information as it's released, but that also has not been released and confirmed by the commissioner office as of yet. So these are all the kind of things that I have to keep you updated about, because we don't know where the polling locations are. We don't know how many divisions are going to be at each of the polling locations. But what we do know is that the polling locations that were inside of senior centers will all be moved. We do know that the polling places that were inside of some schools, we had some charter schools. My understanding is that they will be moved. The public schools, which are, controlled by the city, are more viable polling places right now because they control them and the schools are closed. And the cleaning staff and those are on city payroll. So that those are the likelihoods, but these are all suppositions at this point. We don't know. I'm giving you mere guesstimates based on what I'm able to cob together from the varying places of resource. However, what I am attempting to do is at least keep you informed. So because the changes to not just Act 77, but the changes to what we're going on right here have been constant and frequent, and we've not been being kept in the know, meaning that there have not been public, Zoom meetings or hearings on where the polling locations are going to be. There has not been like a public announcement on how to assist with the getting your ballot. As a matter of fact, the young lady reached out to me specifically to help her walk through trying to do it online because she reached out to her state rep who was not able to help. And no, this is not a ditch or whatever, because it was not the state rep in the 190th. Actually, this young lady was calling in from Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, and I just helped her walk through it online because she watches our show. So that's how she found us. So this is not a competition for me. This is also not a partisan effort, as that young lady was a Republican. It was really just about, I want everybody to be able to exercise their right to vote. Now, Bussy has put down here at the bottom and let us know how to track those votes, and we appreciate that. And what we also know is that you still have time to register to vote. So for all of you who may or may not have registered to vote, know that you can go to register.pavotes.com. Register.pavotes.com. And you have until 5/18 to be able to register. So if you're new to the city and you've never been registered in Philadelphia before, if you've never been moved or motivated to vote before, that was probably the best feeling. This is an aside. A young man told me, he said, I have never had somebody actually come and ask me for my vote. This was clearly before we went to lockdown mode. And he said, Miss, I'm going to vote for you just because you came and asked me to. He's like, nobody has ever asked me. We always worry about the president and who's going to be the president. And the president never asked me for my vote. And so he registered to vote. He got one of those, we sat there, on the tablet, and he registered to vote right there. So, and that made me feel so good. And I'm really hoping that he's going to make that very first vote and cast it for me. But I'm just excited that he's going to cast his very first vote. So register.votespa.com. So you can still register until May 18th. I reminded you about the 5/26 date and the 6/2 date. So now, what are you actually going to do? That is a choice that is really up to you. I just need you to know that you have options. Some are safe but complicated, and some are less safe, but they're what we're used to. And they're going to be even more complicated because they're going to be a reduced number of polling places. We are here to help you with all of that. If you have any difficulties with any of this, any of the process, you need additional information, as always, we are here to help you in my office at 267-291-4702. That's 267-291-4702. We are always here to help you in any capacity, whatever that is. If you are having issues with trying to access it online, you don't understand how you can roll through the confirmation number. If you even have questions about some of the information, I love to talk to you because I want to know what's going on. And I still have to remind you that we are still continuing to partner with various organizations out in our community. And I'm very pleased to be associated with so many. As I've told you over and over again, I do not believe that we should recreate the wheel in this time of crisis or any time. As a state rep, one of the things that we need to do is bring the people together, and we need to match the people with the resources that have been serving them while empowering those agencies to solve people on a higher level, meaning that we need to provide them with the resources, the funding, and the aptitude to be able to grow so they can service more people. This weekend, I had the opportunity to work with Ruben Jones from Frontline Dads. He's been on the show before. He told us about his program. We went on down to 34th and what is that, between 30, it's 410 North 34th Street. And I think it's right between Hamilton and Spring Garden. So it's on 34th Street though. And that organization was so together. I really have to give a shout out to Ruben because it was like a well-oiled machine over there. And that's what I mean about empowering those people who've been doing it. Ruben and the Frontline Dads have been doing this for years, making sure that they are sustaining food in the community that's accessible and reliable and healthy. And what happened? They showed up down there and it was like a machine. The line was down the street and around the corner. And I can honestly tell you in 45 minutes, the line was nobody. We were actually packing up and making a plan for next week. And why is that? Because everybody showed up with the job that they needed to get done. They knew what it was, how to do it. They had their assembly line together. The boxes were flowing. They were helping, the young ladies and young men to put the stuff in the back of the cars. It was contactless. They were helping folks load up their shopping carts, and they were in and out and very socially distant. I was so proud to just be involved and to be invited to work with them. And it's that kind of program that needs more resources, that needs more volunteers, that needs more money so it can expand, maybe to serve more in the community or more communities, So that's what I mean when I say that we need to bring each other together, and that together we do better. So I just needed to give them a shout out because they are wonderful. In addition, I did not know this. Ruben told us that they are actually doing delivery for some of our differently abled individuals and some of our seniors who may not be able to get out and who are more vulnerable in the population. I'm going to actually put up their number. He provided it to me, but you can reach out to the Frontline Dads, or you can come and see them each and every Saturday between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. at 410 North 34th Street. That's every single Saturday from 11 to 1 at 410 North 34th Street. Okay. And I just want y'all to know, I just got to tell you, okay, they had the good water. The aqua panna, the good, like the stuff that the celebrities are asking for as a part of their, swag bag to show up to perform. Yes, they were giving it out. I was a little salty. I couldn't get any aqua panna because they were out the other day when I went to the market, but they sure had it. Yes. Emmanuel, that's exactly right. Ruben Jones is the man. And I just I was just so proud to just be there and to be a part of it. The other thing is, I need to remind you all that tomorrow we open up the Philadelphia Rental Assistance application online. I have been posting this now for 5 days. 5 days. I've been posting it, reminded y'all about it on Friday, asked you to get your documents together, and I need you to get on all of your stuff together and make sure. And when I say all of your stuff, because again, I've never seen the application. Okay, so we don't know what it is, but I can tell you they're going to want to know what your income is. They're going to know what your rent is. If they're assisting you with the rent, they need to know how much it is, whether or not you're in arrears, whether or not you've gotten any of those 10-day letters even before this started. Because remember, the CARES Act did not stop evictions and foreclosures until we were almost a month into this thing. So you may have already gotten the 10-day letter from your landlord. Make sure you have that 10-day letter right there so that you will be ready to get through the application. The next thing I'm going to say to you is please be patient. Y'all know everything about COVID-19 has been a logjam. Okay, that's why I'm telling you, if you're going to request these ballots, do it now. When you get off of here, you make sure you request the ballot now. If you want to do the rental application, they open tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. online. Make sure you're there at 8:25, click and refresh, okay? Because you want to make sure that you do not get locked out of that system. And this is why another thing that is so problematic. If you do not have access to a computer, it's like you just can't do anything right now. You can't get your unemployment benefits because you can't get through on the phone. You can't do the rental assistance application because it's online. You can't get your ballot, or at least not a confirmation number. Well, they are telling you, if you do not have a computer, you need to be calling Philly 311 to get you a rental assistance application. Philly 311 is how you get a rental assistance application. So I'm going to tell you, when you get off here with me, if you need to log out, you need to text your friends, get off here and call and make sure you get your application right now. Okay. So call and make sure you get your application, because they're not saying they're not giving the applications out. Specifically, what they're saying is they do not start accepting the applications until tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. when the system goes live. That's number one. Number two, there's an expansion in the SNAP benefits, emergency SNAP benefits for working families with children. So this means, and this is different. So this is working families with children, people who have lost their job or had their income reduced as a result of COVID-19 get additional cash benefits. So it's additional cash benefits and possibly, depending upon your income, additional food stamp benefits. up to $1,200. Up to $1,200. So it's additional monies that you can apply for. That went live today. You need to go to compass.pa.us, compass.pa.us, so that you can get that process. It's the Department of State. It's the Department of State, and then you want to go into their Compass online training, I'm sorry, Compass online application to be able to access those benefits. And you can get that done. All it says is that you must have it, you must be a parent. Okay. So unfortunately, I'm not eligible again, but for all of you who have children who have lost any employment, a reduction of employment, a reduction of hours, a reduction in pay, bring home pay, not just that you're unemployed, you can get these benefits, please. And it's, again, only until the money in the program runs out. So we know that it starts today and is going through June 12th. But we also know it's only until the money runs out. Please don't apply on June 12th and then come back to me and tell me how you didn't get it because they didn't have any money. I need you to apply now. Apply tomorrow. Hit refresh until the same thing, until you get in. Okay? Hey, Rose Davis, thank you for checking in today. Yes, I don't want anybody to miss out on these opportunities, okay? Nobody to miss out on these opportunities. And then finally, I always like to leave it on some good news, because there is good news for our youth. You're already checking in on my Facebook. I posted today there are job opportunities for our youth. From 14 to 17 years old, you can get a summer job this summer, and they're doing virtual internships. So it's not just all what you can do live, in Memorex, no, live. It's also in Memorex. It's a digital age. These kids have digital access. A lot of this stuff can be done on the phone. Thank you, Miss Cynthia. Thank you. Yeah, I'm working hard for these votes. So make sure, if you have a youth who lives in Philadelphia between the ages of 14 and 17, I think it's actually 18 now, as I read through it, I'm sorry, 14 and 18, they are eligible for these programs. And I know everybody's having a hard time right now because we don't know what's going on with money. So if you have a child that can earn some money this summer, and while they're earning money, they get valuable job experience, I think it's a win-win for everybody, for the kids and for the family. Because, my summer jobs, they train me for the rest of the life, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, them little summer jobs didn't make me much money, but if my mama was happy and my daddy was happy because they didn't have to shell out $5 for gas. That's right, I'm that old, because, I had like a little hoopty that $5 was filling up the tank. And but they never really realized I didn't spend it. What I would do is I would take my girlfriend with me and then make them, come up with $1 each on the gas. But anyway, that was that long ago. But that was how, I got my little nails done and kept my little Holly Berry, like feathered little bob. Yes, I had one of those, the little feathered little bob. You couldn't tell me that it just wasn't boomerang and that I didn't have a goose-like neck, but that's so whatever. Okay, so now the other thing that I just have to tell you is PUA. Today is the day that you are supposed to file your weekly benefits, okay? It's up and running as of last Wednesday. It went down a little bit on Thursday, but it was smooth sailing allegedly over the weekend. But today starts the new week for your next level of benefits, your next week. So anybody who has been into the PUA dashboard, I need you to log in. It's going to tell you what your actual benefits amount is now. Make sure that you have your hours and things ready so you can calculate. For those of you who are gig workers or independent contractors, make sure that you have the reduction in hours, the pay that you would have made, and so you can get your monies. Because the other thing is, once you apply for that, it's finally going to trigger the federal benefits of the additional $600. So what they're saying is that once you do your weekly benefits, and also you're going to get all of the weekly benefits retroactively all at one time. So when you finally get through PUA and you finally do your weeks this week, on Friday, you're going to get all your monies, all of them, your monies. That's right, your monies, not all your money. You're going to get all your monies on Friday. And then allegedly, next Wednesday, you're going to get the additional $600 monies, because it's per week, that you missed out on. Okay, so it's going to be some monies there on Friday, and allegedly, now I can't promise nothing, I'm just telling you what it says. And then you're going to get the money from the CARES Act on Wednesday. Wayne Alton, unfortunately, I can't get over there right now, but the summer job info is actually posted on my page along with the link so the kids can apply right there online. Wayne. So if you just go right over to my page, click that link, share it, it's on there so we can get these kids some jobs. Yes, that's right. Rose is and one of the Auditor General candidates, and she is actually right above me on the row. You don't know that, Rose. So she's right above me on the row, the Auditor General campaign. She's also on the row with Joe. So yes, another Black woman doing it big. Rose is from the Poconos. Is that right? I think it's Stroudsburg, she told me. Thank you. Fillajob.gov. Thank you, Zahira. Yes, they're always on it for me. Fillajob.gov is how you apply. So make sure that we get those kids some jobs. Make sure that you are at getting your PUA and your additional CARES Act $600 benefits. And make sure that you are registering to vote, signing up to get your mail-in ballots, following up that you received them, and getting them in, looking to row number 2 on the row with Joe and pushing button number 17. But if you don't, I will see you at the ballot and I'll see you at the polls, because I'll be out there front and center on June 2nd, continuing to hope to earn your vote. As I tell you all the time, I am Danyl Patterson, but I'm going to tell you something different today. I am the only attorney in this race for the 190. I am the only person who is in this race from the 190, the only Black female who is from West Philly, who is of West Philly, who was born, raised, educated here, and continues to live here, trying to uplift the communities that West Philly is comprised of. I am the candidate who is here of the people, for the people, from the people, and I hope to be able to represent the people. Together, this is Danyl Patterson reminding you that we will do better.